Hello and welcome everyone to the post-match press conference following Bayern's 3-1 win against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Just hearing from Thomas Tuchel, the Gladbach press conference has already taken place. This is a very important win. A win that ultimately, based on the way the game went, was difficult. But we knew that Gladbach had picked up points against Leverkusen as well, and we knew we were going to have good chances in the game as well. And ultimately didn't manage to take any of our early chances. And then ultimately the first time that Gladbach got into our penalty area, they managed to open the scoring. And then ultimately we had a bit of a misunderstanding at the back in terms of our build-up play, and as a result, Gladbach played it out well. And then it got a little bit more complicated than it already was, the game against Gladbach. But then Pavlovic scored a nice goal before half-time, and that gave us calm going in at the break and allowed us to reconvene and choose to then up the tempo after the break. And then Harry Kane scores a poacher's effort, and we got a few more spaces to work with in the game, and able to create a few more chances. But ultimately, it was a dead ball situation that ultimately allowed us to put the game beyond reach. And ultimately now we've had 2 games against Augsburg and Gladbach, 2 teams that we haven't picked up a lot of points against in recent years, but both times we've picked up points, and today we showed that we can come from behind well as well. And as a result, it's very, very positive. So the 2 questions. The first about the development of Alexander Pavlovic, now with 2 goals in 2 games. And then a quick question about the personnel ahead of the game against Leverkusen, because Alphonso Davies came off, and a few updates on other players as well. So we're going to see if we can play with Upamecano and Joshua Kimmich against Leverkusen. That will be decided during the week, and ultimately by how they come through training sessions before Saturday. Can't say anything about Alphonso Davies just yet. He felt something in his knee, and we're going to have to let him be assessed, but I can't really give any words to the situation, because it's a shame given the fact that Fonzie was getting back into his real form. And then to Alexander Pavlovic, he's playing with a lot of confidence. He plays the way he trains. He's a fine footballer and ultimately a fine person as well. He's now scored 2 nice goals against Augsburg and today. Important as well, because both times it was our first goal in the game, and that's why I can give him a big compliment, and a big compliment to him and the team, because it's not easy for him, but he's doing things very well right now. So now that the transfer window is closed, there was talk about bringing in a holding 6, but is now Pavlovic the holding 6 that you had been looking for the whole time? So it'd be strange for a midfielder who defines himself as a defensive midfielder when he pops up in the box, inside the 6-yard box, and scores goals as well. And that's why I think Pavlovic is a creative 6, a little bit like Konrad Laimer, Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich as well. But he works well in a double 6, and ultimately I suit my system and my approach to the players and to the opponents that we're coming up against. A couple of examples of when we've won games with 1 midfielder or 2 or 3 midfielders, but the fact is Leon and Pavlovic did it well today. So what conclusions are you drawing from this game ahead of the game against Leverkusen? And what do you make of the 500th win for Thomas Müller? Well, has anyone got more in the Bundesliga? Or is he the sole record holder? But yeah, he's been playing in the first team since he's 15, it feels like, and he wins 4 games out of 5, and it's incredible. But that's why he deserves the utmost respect, Thomas Müller. In fact, as we celebrated it within the change room as well with a little speech. But I don't think I really need to make a lot of comments about it. It's a good thing. And once again, I forgot the first part of the question. So when it comes to Leverkusen, it's going to be a very different game. We've got a whole week to prepare. We would have liked to be in the cup, but we will use the time during the week. I think the idea of how they like to play is quite clear for Leverkusen. The way they perform is quite clear as well. They are producing an incredible season. We're 2 points behind them, but ultimately the points tally for both teams is quite high, and we're going to Leverkusen with a clear target to hand them their first defeat of the season and to overtake them in the standings. So another question to Leverkusen. President Herbert Heine said that we want to annoy them, and ultimately that they might be a little bit nervous as well. Do you feel the same way? When it comes to how nervous the opponent is, it's impossible to speculate, because ultimately it comes down to what we have in our own hands. It comes down to us producing a top performance, and then ultimately who's fit, who's available, and then producing our performance from the first minute. 90 minutes, 100 minutes, it doesn't matter for how long, but it really doesn't come down to how nervous an opponent is or the mistakes they make. That's ultimately a waste of time. It's really about us staying on top of our game, and I understand the president saying what he said, especially given Leverkusen in the form that they're in and the role that they currently find themselves in. But they are producing an outstanding season, but the fact is, it is only 2 points in it. It's not a big gap. And ultimately, when it comes to our points tally, we'd be further ahead in many other European leagues, but ultimately we've got a couple of top games ahead of us. It's not just Leverkusen upcoming, but a couple of really big games coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we have to be playing at the highest level. So the transfer window is closed, the squad is set. What's now your targets for this season? We're playing for every title that we can still claim, which is the Meisterschale in the Bundesliga, and ultimately playing for the qualification for the quarter-finals of the Champions League, and then we'll take it round by round, but ultimately we play every game to win. The targets are self-explanatory. So when you come to a game like this, are you pleased with the way that the result has come about and the fact that you showed a reaction, or are you upset that it needed a reaction? Up until we conceded, it was a very solid and serious game with a lot of chances against a deep-lying opponent. I think it would have been very much possible for us to lead by 2 or 3 goals. I mean, Leroy Sané had 2 100% chances on his own. There was the free kick from Harry Kane, and we got to the byline on a couple of occasions as well. And I think ultimately I'm just overweighed by the positive feeling today. I think it doesn't make any sense to analyze this in any other way. Up against the last 2 opponents, Gladbach and Augsburg, and we haven't picked up many points against those 2 opponents in the last couple of years, but that's why we've picked up 3 points today, and there's a lot of things that will ultimately breed self-confidence. Thanks for joining us at the press conference. Hear from you again next time.